Imagine a world where some of the richest and most famous people are hiding dark secrets. What if parties, private jets, and luxury yachts weren't just fun, but a place where young women were trapped and forced to do terrible things? Jaguar Wright has been warning about this for years, and now new files show shocking connections between Naomi Campbell, Jeffrey Epstein, Diddy, and even Hollywood elites. Flight logs, private emails, and secret parties tell a story nobody expected. Lone young women were promised fame but instead faced danger, and some people who could have been punished are still hiding in the shadows. Who really knew and who will pay the price? Stick around, because what comes next will shock you.
During this period of terminal 5 madness, was upset and irate, and I guess I just took it too far, maybe.
Turned out to Microsoft founder Bill Gates his eye-opening apology for his relationship with convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. In a town hall meeting with employees, Gates admitting to 2 affairs with Russian women and what he says about the photos of him in the Epstein files.
And then after that, that's when they were shipped off to Epstein Island to be broken in.
Jaguar Wright has just made a shocking claim about Naomi Campbell. She says Naomi may be connected to 3 of the most controversial figures in Hollywood: Diddy, Jeffrey Epstein, and Harvey Weinstein. Why was Naomi seen at Diddy's private parties? Why did her name appear in Epstein's infamous Black Book? And was she ever on his private jet? The connections are raising serious questions. Let's take a closer look.
This is a direct character assassination. I've always said that I'm not a saint, that I am a work in progress, but I will not be held hostage by my past. What he's done is indefensible. And when I heard of what he'd done, it sickened me to my stomach, just like everybody else. Because I've had my fair share of sexual predators, and thank God that I had good people around me that protected me from this. I mean, right now I stand with the victims. I can't, they're scarred for life. For life. I've rubbed shoulders with hundreds of thousands of people. The frightening conclusion here is that if the negative action of your neighbor, colleague, or even an associate can somehow make you guilty too, simply by association, then we indeed live in very worrying times. This affects us all. It is wrong, it's unfair, and it must be stopped.
One name that keeps appearing in the recently released Epstein files is Naomi Campbell. And for many people, that isn't surprising. Naomi was known to be close to both Diddy and Harvey Weinstein, and some alleged victims have said they believed the stories because they personally saw Naomi spending time with them. Private flight logs also show that Naomi Campbell traveled on Jeffrey Epstein's private jet, often called the Lolita Express, on multiple occasions. Several victims have described disturbing things that allegedly happened during those flights, claiming they were expected to serve Epstein and his guests while on board. Now, being listed in flight logs doesn't automatically mean someone was involved in any wrongdoing. But considering what has since been revealed about Epstein and his activities, these connections have raised a lot of questions. Naomi and Epstein were also reportedly seen together at private yacht parties. In addition, an interview with Ghislaine Maxwell included in a DOJ document mentioned Naomi by name, claiming that she visited Epstein's island and was considered his friend. There are also photos showing Naomi celebrating her 31st birthday on a yacht in the south of France with Epstein present, along with her then-boyfriend, Italian businessman Flavio Briatore.
Aside from that flight, do you know him from any other thing?
No.
Naomi Campbell?
Yes, I do know Naomi. And I knew her before I met Mr. Epstein and the former President Clinton.
Do you know whether Mr. Epstein separately knew Ms. Campbell?
I think he probably met her through me. That, I imagine.
And so, for those 3, Mr. Tucker, Mr. Spacey, and Ms. Campbell, did they ever travel to any of Mr. Epstein's properties, the island or New Mexico?
Not Mr. Tucker, well, not to my knowledge, Mr. Tucker or Mr. Spacey. Naomi Campbell may have.
To where?
She may have gone, well, she certainly, well, I believe she visited him in Palm Beach, and I believe she may have gone to the island, and she may have gone to see his house in New York, whether she went to New Mexico or Paris as well, maybe. They were friends, or friendly.
Jaguar Wright also claimed she saw these connections coming long ago. According to her, Jeffrey Epstein and Diddy were linked through the same network of victims. She says many young women trying to break into the entertainment industry were allegedly manipulated or pressured into degrading situations. Wright even claimed that she personally helped 3 women escape from Epstein's island after they were reportedly lured in with promises of modeling opportunities. According to Wright, these women believed they were auditioning for music video roles, but later found themselves trapped in a dangerous situation. She also alleged that some of them were told they would appear in music videos for rapper Rick Ross. Reports over the years have shown that Epstein recruited young models through agencies that were later accused of acting as fronts for trafficking. One of Epstein's alleged associates, Jean-Luc Brunel, ran MC2 Model Management, which was frequently mentioned in investigations. Another figure connected to the network, Rachel Chandler, was also linked to modeling operations, including the Midland Agency, which some reports claimed operated as another front. Chandler has also been photographed with Sean Diddy Combs in the past, which has only fueled more speculation about how all these circles may have overlapped.
There are 3 women I know right now in my life. They've been in my life for 6 years. I've been caring for them for 3 years. I got them off of Epstein Island. I cannot say where they are in the world. What I can say is when they got into the boat, they were roughed.
Wow.
Want to know how they ended up on Epstein Island?
Please.
They auditioned to be models for music videos.
Oh, casting couch.
When they got to Miami, they had to show and turn over their ID, and they collected their passports, and then they drugged them. And then the next thing you know, they were in a storage container getting by a bunch of weird strangers on camera who were bidding for all of the terrible things that were happening to them live online.
Wow.
After they made it through that, that's when they were sent to Rick Ross's music videos, shoots, as groupies and extras to make sure that they could walk around in society without looking like victims. And then after that, that's when they were shipped off to Epstein Island to be broken in and to be readied for Dubai and Moscow.
Jaguar Wright says she spoke about these connections years before the Epstein files were ever released, and now she believes many of her claims are slowly being confirmed. According to Wright, several of the names she mentioned in the past are now appearing in investigations. When Naomi Campbell's name surfaced during discussions around the Diddy investigation, Wright predicted that Naomi would also appear in the Epstein files, and later, her name did show up in the documents. So the files suggest that Naomi had contact with both Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell on multiple occasions. One reported email exchange between Epstein and Naomi's manager even shows an invitation connected to an event she was hosting. The message read, "Dear Mr. Epstein, on behalf of Ms. Campbell, we would like to invite you to her celebratory event with Dolce & Gabbana tomorrow evening in Paris from 8:30 p.m. till 10 p.m. It says at the store on Avenue Montaigne." The event was meant to celebrate 25 years of Naomi Campbell's career with the fashion brand.
People who were regulars in the Epstein crew. Like, I'm still shocked that there's nothing about Naomi Campbell really coming forward yet. I'm surprised. I'm like bitterly surprised. Her
Yeah,
ties.
her name was on the list like the most as far as like flight records.
Yeah.
She was on a lot of flights.
A lot of flights.
You mentioned
also Diddy's ex-girlfriend.
Hey.
Isn't that funny? What a small world.
Especially the awful son wanted me to be in jail, and I'm not saying what my behavior was correct. I think that everyone during this period of Terminal 5 madness was upset and irate, and I guess I just took it too far, maybe.
One of the most suspicious things is how Naomi Campbell's name keeps appearing in Jeffrey Epstein's flight logs, especially alongside women who were later identified as trafficking victims. One of those women is Virginia Giuffre. Virginia was one of the first victims to speak out about Epstein, and her testimony played a major role in exposing the network around him. She also accused Prince Andrew, which later led to a major global scandal. Virginia described what allegedly happened on Epstein's private jet, often called the Lolita Express, saying young women were taken on these trips and expected to serve Epstein and his powerful guests. Some staff members later supported parts of these claims. However, many people who flew on the plane have said they had no idea any crimes were happening. Critics find that hard to believe because according to victims, staff, and even reports about the pilots, now many people around Epstein were aware something was wrong. It raises the question, how could so many people be around him and not question why young women were constantly traveling with a man already accused of abuse? The most disturbing part of the Virginia Giuffre story is what happened shortly before she planned to reveal even more details. Virginia had been working on a book where she intended to describe her experiences and name people she said were involved in the abuse. Around that time, she was reportedly involved in a serious accident after being hit by a truck. She managed to survive the crash, which many described as a miracle. But only a few days later, news came out that she had died by suicide. For many observers, the timing raised questions. The person who had spoken out the most about Jeffrey Epstein and his powerful connections was preparing to release a book with more details, and then suddenly passed away shortly after surviving a major accident. Some people see it as a tragic coincidence, while others believe the timing makes the situation even more mysterious.
We have some breaking news for you. Virginia Giuffre, a woman who accused both Prince Andrew and Jeffrey Epstein of has taken her own life. Her family confirmed her death in a statement to NBC News. It reads, "It is with utterly broken hearts that we announce that Virginia passed away last night at her farm in Western Australia. She lost her life to after being a lifelong victim of abuse and trafficking. Virginia was a fierce warrior in the fight against trafficking. She was the light that lifted so many survivors. In the end, the toll of is so heavy that it became unbearable for Virginia to handle its weight." Ms. Giuffre alleged she was trafficked by Mr. Epstein to have sex with Prince Andrew as a teenager. She sued the Duke of York for in August 2021, but settled out of court in 2022. Prince Andrew repeatedly denied the claims.
Jeffrey Epstein also kept a personal contact book that later became known as Epstein's Black Book. This was a 97-page address book containing the names and contact details of hundreds of people connected to him. The book was reportedly taken from Epstein's home around 2005 by a former employee and was later leaked to the media. Inside were phone numbers, email addresses, and home contacts for around 1,500 to 2,000 individuals. These names included celebrities, royalty, powerful business figures, lawyers, and even service staff who had some connection to Epstein's world. Among the many names listed was Naomi Campbell. While the exact notes written about her have never been fully made public, reports say Epstein had written down several phone numbers connected to her. Of course, simply appearing in someone's contact book doesn't prove any criminal involvement, but for many people, it still raises curiosity about how close some of these high-profile figures were to Epstein and his inner circle.
Names, last names, area codes, okay. Who created this book?
Epstein himself.
This book was made by Epstein?
This is a video of an FBI sting operation with Jeffrey Epstein's former house manager and an undercover FBI employee from 2009. The Palm Beach house manager, Alfredo Rodriguez, believes he is selling Epstein's address book to someone representing a lawyer of Epstein's victims.
You will see a lot of important people here.
He claims that the book contains contacts of powerful people, as well as Epstein's victims.
So those are mostly underage girls, those numbers?
They were very young.
A source familiar with the case confirmed the video shows the sting operation, which court documents show happened 2 years after the FBI demanded that Rodriguez turn over any Epstein documents. Instead, court documents say he kept the address book and tried to sell it for $50,000. In the occasionally redacted 45-minute video of the meeting, Rodriguez implicates Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's close associate, who's now serving a 20-year sentence for sex trafficking of minors.
Ghislaine Maxwell was his former companion, a very powerful lady from England. She would go to the former Eastern countries in Europe and find girls for Epstein. And I knew that because I went with my wife.
Rodriguez also claims that Maxwell kept a computer database of girls, something he said he saw briefly once.
What kind of pictures?
Naked girls from Sweden, from Romania, from Czechoslovakia, from Brazil, from
All
Colombia.
minors? All young girls?
Very young, very young.
Like when you say very young, how young are we talking?
16, 17, the teenagers, they have braces mostly.
Rodriguez provided no evidence to support the existence of the database.
Good, count it. And while you're
The video, released as part of the recent trove of Epstein documents, abruptly ends after the agent hands Rodriguez a bag of cash and says he will call the lawyer.
In another case, Naomi Campbell's name came up in connection with Harvey Weinstein. British model and actress Katie Noble, who was suing Weinstein for an alleged assault in France, claimed she saw both Oprah and Naomi at private parties he hosted. Noble also alleged that Weinstein assaulted her and forced her to perform acts in front of a mirror at Le Majestic Hotel during the 2014 Cannes Film Festival.
And he was with people in which I admired dearly. He was with Naomi Campbell, he had Oprah Winfrey there with him, who entered the room and was swinging off his arm and just seemed like a very dear friend. And these, like Oprah, Naomi, Rita, and Georgina, they all sat at his table. And for me, you know, meeting Oprah was like, oh my God, like I would have thought that I would have to be someone who's established, who everyone would have had to know about before I was privileged enough to meet someone like Oprah. So that gave me so much confidence in him at the time when he approached me. I thought.
Jaguar Wright said years ago that the entertainment industry is controlled by powerful men who will do anything to exploit young women. Promises of money and fame are used to pressure women into terrible situations. These men, along with music executives, hold all the power, which is why figures like Sean, Diddy Combs and Jeffrey Epstein even had access to young women in the first place. Jaguar also shared her own experience, explaining how she narrowly escaped abuse while navigating this dangerous industry.
Babies.
Babies.
Being ran around by grown men. Babies. I got offered my first record deal when I was 13 years old. I got offered another one when I was 15. I'm so grateful that my father said no. I ended up not signing a record deal until I was in my early 20s. And as young as that is, looking back now, at least I was a legal adult. Most of these girls, they get moved around and touched around very early on. And, you know, and the people that have control of everything are untouchable. So how do you argue with that?
After the party is the hotel lobby.
Come on, Jack. Come on.
You want to know what's funny though?
Yeah.
Naomi Campbell is finally fresh.
Y'all ain't heard?
Cruella DeVille is finally being checked.
Wow. Hey, I've seen something on that.
Because, I mean, any woman that Mike Tyson has to put a restraining order on needs to be checked.
That is facts. Them is facts. Oh wait.
I keep telling everybody, she the Ghislaine. I'm still trying to figure out how she pulled that off. Where she was able to get a white woman to go to jail for.
That's the question.
It's not just about exploiting women in the industry. Elite circles are now reportedly targeting black women for their eggs and stem cells. Rumors that Hollywood uses these stem cells to maintain youth are starting to gain credibility, and Jeffrey Epstein is said to have been involved in supplying these women. In one reported case, Hollywood publicist Peggy Siegel allegedly offered to bring Epstein a baby or two from a trip to Africa, claiming it would be so Madonna.
Stem cell technology that Peter and I are investing in is called SCNT, which takes the egg of a young, perfect woman specimen, takes the egg and takes out the nucleus and puts our DNA in the nucleus. They just go in and take it out.
Painful, right?
Huh?
The painful uses.
Yeah, and this is part of this genetic greatness that we don't see in any other race on the planet. These curvy black women from Africa. You girls have a kind of a monopoly on this genetic perfection, and we want some of that. So, girls, for $100, we would pay you for your egg.
$100?
So how much do you want for it? Let's bid. I bid $500. Whoever I bid, he's going to outbid me. I bought about $60,000 worth of eggs. Yeah. If you have abortion, that's very valuable. Umbilical cord, and placenta, even your period blood is so rich with stem cells. We regard it as waste, and it actually should be. It should be captured as recycled, and it shouldn't go to waste. It's life for somebody, and it's life for mankind.
Despite everything that has happened
Despite all the revelations, the harsh reality is that many of the people named in the Epstein files will likely face no consequences, simply because they are too powerful. Some hold high-ranking positions in governments, and emails show that several presidents and prime ministers were in contact with Epstein. Yet, in the released files, their names remain redacted, while only the victims' identities are exposed. It raises serious questions about accountability, especially when these same names keep appearing every time new information is revealed.
Do you think we'll ever find out the names, and do you have any idea who they are?
Well, I think we know the names. I think the names have been bandied around from the beginning. I don't know that it's necessary for me to actually say them. We do know we know who they are. They are former presidents. They are a very mouthy lawyer who lives in Boston. We know the names. They're on the flight logs. They're in the little black book. They're the ones who've been surrounding this whole story we know who they are. However, are they more responsible than Ghislaine? This gets very gray area, and I am not a victim, so I'm going to see things differently.
But even if they're not more responsible, if they were still a participant at times with some of these girls, shouldn't their names be made public?
Okay, well, the answer, of course, is yes to everything. Of course, everything should be public. Everything should be transparent, and all bad people should be punished. I'm all for it. This is, things have gone on forever. This is not new. It's nothing to do with privilege and money. This happens in every iteration. It's happened through all the years humans have been on the planet, probably. And this particular group was to satisfy Jeffrey's proclivity for underage girls. And that's the problem with the whole thing. If Jeffrey had just wanted beautiful young ladies.
A major question is how Jeffrey Epstein became connected to so many powerful people and why many of them are still being protected. Recently, 6 high-profile names were revealed from previously redacted files. These names had been hidden to protect their identities until Congressman Ro Khanna publicly disclosed them during a floor speech, following a visit to the Department of Justice. Khanna, along with Republican Congressman Thomas Massie from Kentucky, she spent 2 hours reviewing unredacted documents before making the disclosure. Among the 6 men named were Leslie Wexner, the founder of Victoria's Secret, Sultan Ahmed bin Sulayem, CEO of DP World and Emirati billionaire. And 4 others, Nicola Caputo, Salvatore Nara, Zurab Mikoladze, and Leonik Leonov. After the reveal, Representative Anna Paulina Luna confirmed that some individuals were allegedly trying to spin the story to portray themselves as victims. She tweeted, "Based on our congressional investigation, it is my professional opinion that Jeffrey Epstein was running a honeypot operation. I am calling on oversight to bring these 4 women in for questioning as co-conspirators to child trafficking."
Jeffrey Epstein was running an intelligence gathering operation. In my professional opinion, I do believe it was a honeypot operation. And I do believe that there's a list of individuals who did engage in, were given these plea deals, and I'm going to name those individuals right now. The first one would be Leslie Groff. The second one, Sarah Kellen. The third one, Nadia Markova. And the fourth one, Adriana Ross. All of these women engaged in the trafficking of minors as adults. They were working and complicit with Jeffrey Epstein's operation. And in my opinion, they are not to be given victim status because they did partake in harming young girls. I remember seeing in some of the files, some of these girls were, as young as 10, 11 years old and older. And so obviously we have a lot of work to do, but I did want to come and give an update and let you know that President Clinton, as of right now, is cooperative and answering all of our questions. And that it leads me to believe that if we can remove the partisan nature of this investigation, we actually might be able to get justice. And so
Bill and Hillary Clinton are reportedly testifying about their connections to Jeffrey Epstein. Both previously claimed they didn't know him well and only traveled on his planes a few times. Hillary specifically said she didn't know Epstein and was only friends with Ghislaine Maxwell. But considering what we now know, that Ghislaine was reportedly the mastermind behind much of Epstein's operations, being friends with her doesn't look much better than being friends with Epstein himself.
I'm Jessica Cartalia here in Chappaqua, New York, where former President Bill Clinton is sitting for hours of deposition from Congress, asking him about his connection with Jeffrey Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell. We know that Clinton appeared in several different photos, him sitting in a hot tub with Epstein, also flying on Epstein's private plane multiple times. They're asking several questions about his involvement. Bill Clinton says 20 years ago, had he known what Epstein was up to, he would have turned him in himself. They also talked about a former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton's testimony here. Her deposition was on Thursday. They said there was no reason that she should have been deposed, as she had nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein and had only met Ghislaine Maxwell a handful of times.
What I knew is what I said in my statement this morning. I never met Jeffrey Epstein, never had any connection or communication with him. I knew Ghislaine Maxwell casually as an acquaintance. It was disappointing that they refused to hold a public hearing, so I wouldn't have to be out here characterizing it for you. You could have seen it for yourself. I don't know how many times I had to say I did not know Jeffrey Epstein. I never went to his island. I never went to his homes. I never went to his offices. So it's on the record numerous times.
So far, very few people have faced scrutiny for their ties to Jeffrey Epstein. Prince Andrew was recently arrested over his connection to Epstein and for allegedly sharing sensitive government information. Among released emails is an invitation for Epstein to dine at Buckingham Palace, along with messages where Epstein offered to introduce Prince Andrew to a 26-year-old Russian woman. There are also photos that reportedly show Prince Andrew kneeling over an unidentified woman lying on the floor.
Well, we have some breaking news for you now. An explosive email from the Epstein files has been released with the convicted
offender, naming then Prince Charles as being responsible for his brother Andrew losing his job.
OK, this is big news. Entertainment editor Peter Ford joins us. Pete, this is the first time we've seen Charles's name appear, and it is considered a really significant development.
Yes, it is. In amongst the hundreds, thousands of names that are dropping, this is the first time where the then Prince Charles is being referenced by Jeffrey Epstein directly. Now, to be quite honest with you, I don't think it's a bad reference. It doesn't cast Prince Charles in a bad light. In fact, some would say quite the opposite. He's replying to an associate who wrote to him. Now, this is on the very day that former Prince Andrew stepped down as the trade envoy. Now, that's Jeffrey Epstein responding to an associate. I assume he knows that this is Charles's doing. So a couple of takeaways from that is that obviously at that time he was Prince Charles.
Bill Gates recently admitted to having extramarital relationships with 2 Russian women, which Jeffrey Epstein reportedly learned about, though Gates said these women were not Epstein's victims. He also confirmed that his interactions with Epstein continued through 2014, including traveling on Epstein's planes and attending gatherings in countries like Germany, France, and the United States.
Turned out to Microsoft founder Bill Gates his eye-opening apology for his relationship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. In a town hall meeting with employees, Gates admitting to 2 affairs with Russian women and what he says about the photos of him in the Epstein files. Here's Pierre Thomas.
Tonight, Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates revealing more damaging information about his personal life and admitting to a series of stunning lapses in judgment in building a relationship with convicted offender Jeffrey Epstein. Today, the fallout growing as Gates was pressed by employees at a Gates Foundation town hall. According to the Wall Street Journal, which revealed audio of the meeting, Gates told employees it was a huge mistake to spend time with Epstein. He acknowledged that his relationship with Epstein began after Epstein was convicted of soliciting a minor, and he claimed that he, one of the wealthiest men in the world, did not properly research Epstein's background that would have revealed his sordid past. Knowing what I know now makes it, 100 times worse.
Jaguar Wright has been warning about this for years. Whether you agree with her or not, the bigger story is about influence, protection, and who gets shielded when scandals break. The situation is still unfolding. If you want detailed breakdowns of the documents, timelines, and what's verified versus speculation, make sure to subscribe. Share your thoughts in the comments below.